Hello everybody and welcome to our recorded creative writing and more workshop for Read DL 2024. Now I'm just going to make this one long recording, so if you just want to stop and start as you go along, you can do all the exercises or do some of the exercises. It's entirely up to you, and at the very end we're going to have a well-being in words workshop because there is so much well-being in our book this year for Read DL. So I'm sure you all know at this stage our book for Read DL 2024 is The Summer I Robbed a Bank by David O'Doherty. Now I actually read this 2 years ago with my children's book club and we loved it, and I have just recently reread it and loved it even more second time around. So you don't have to have read this for the purpose of any of these exercises, but it definitely does help. And if you haven't read it, highly recommend it. There are so many themes covered in this and so many messages and so many lessons, and to be honest, so much inspiration. Lovely language is told from the perspective of the young boy Rex, who is the hero of the book. There's just so much colour. In fact, look at the cover, it's colour enough, but so much colour between the pages, not in black and white, but in the language and the words that are used. And until you read it, you just have to read it to find out, in fairness. So let's get stuck into this straight away. So the first exercise I want you to do is, the title of this book is The Summer I Robbed a Bank. Now, actually, robbing the bank features very small in the story. It's about raising money for a particular cause. And the book's it's about friendship. It's about courage. It's about finding yourself. It's about cancer. It's about losing people. It's about parents breaking up. It's about support. But it's about a young boy growing up, growing up in himself and growing up in the world. And I just felt there's so much more to this book than just robbing the bank, okay? So if you've read this book, you'll be able to do this exercise no problem. I want you to give the book another title and design a new cover for it. So you've got to think out, what element of the book do you think stands out? Apart or aside from robbing the bank, what else is important in this? And how would you redesign the cover and a new title? Over to you. Now, the next piece is, I'm going to go to page 7 here, and it gives a description of Ireland. And really, it's the map of Ireland, and it's just something very, very simple, okay? I'm from Dublin, a city in Ireland, which, if you don't know it, is an island towards the top left of Europe that looks like a squashed sideways teddy bear. The bear's legs stick out into the Atlantic Ocean, where the waves smash and wallop and the wind goes howl. I think that's a lovely description, and I've never thought of Ireland, the map of Ireland, being a squashed teddy bear before. So I want you to create a teddy bear character and name it. So draw, design, colour and name your teddy bear character. Thinking in Ireland, might you think maybe of a county, a city, a town, a village, a mountain range, a river, to name your teddy bear? Then I want you to write a brief introduction, your teddy bear to introduce itself. Remember, it represents Ireland. So get your teddy to introduce itself in the first person. So write an introduction stroke description of this character, the teddy bear. But the teddy bear's talking. Over to you. Now, I want you to know as well, maybe I should have said at the start, these exercises are not connected. These are simply random pieces to get you using your creative ability to think independently and to create ideas for yourself in both language, images and words. On page 8, Rex says, anything could happen, I said to Dad. Like, what if he locks me in the attic or makes me fight a snake? So I want you to go back now to your teddy bear character. And the teddy bear character wakes up in the attic. And as it's about to climb down from the attic, it encounters a snake. Write and or draw the story of the encounter between teddy bear and snake. Remember, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. St. Patrick is known to have driven the snakes from Ireland. How did this snake escape St. Patrick? Only your teddy bear knows. So get your teddy bear and the snake to meet on the teddy bear's way out of the attic. Write, draw, or both your story. Now, another piece, and it's a word you'll find throughout the book, and it's also very much part of the well-being element of today, but I want to do it here. Rex, as you know, is the main character. If you've read the book, you will know all about Rex, okay? And Rex experiences shock explosions throughout the book. If you go through, I'm sure I'm just going to be able to find it. I don't have this written down, so I'm just going to flick through this until I find a shock explosion. And it's going to take me. I'm saying there's lots of shock explosions. There actually is lots of shock explosions. I just got to find the first one. Yeah, here we go. So if you see, okay, if you see how it's written, okay, first of all, in smaller writing and bigger, wider space, shock explosion. So really what happens is Rex experiences panic attacks. He struggles with anxiety because of different circumstances within his life. So he calls them shock explosion. So can you have Teddy experience a shock explosion? A panic attack? Did he have it when he encountered the snake? Or does he have a panic attack maybe the first time he goes out the door? I want you to write just a short descriptive paragraph. A paragraph can be anything, let's say 3 to 7 lines. Describe Teddy Bear's shock explosion, his panic. When did Teddy encounter panic? You write it and describe it in detail. So remember, you're using descriptive language here. Describe Teddy's shock explosion. Remember, we all have shock explosions at times, I think. We just got to learn to deal with them. Now, our next written piece, this is one that I love. It's very descriptive. It's describing the landscape. And it's a piece we could do anywhere. You can do it if you're sitting in your classroom just now, look around the classroom. Or if you can look outside, look outside. Or maybe if you have got a lunch break coming up, spend some time when you're outside and look around the environment that you're in now. I know a few schools that I have been in, they're out in the country. The mountains surround the school area and it's just spectacular scenery. So whether it's the environment of your classroom, look at the shelves, look at the walls, look at the people around you. Or if you're looking outside, look at the natural world around you, okay? And I want you to write a description of it. Now, listen to this description here. This is on page 31. As we left the car park, the wind blew the clouds away to reveal a new landscape. Huge, dark, dome-shaped mountains loomed around us. Where the fields had been flat green carpets on either side of the train, now they were bumpy yellow rugs, separated by walls of grey, mossy stones that looked like they'd been balanced on top of each other a very long time ago. Think about what you see now when you look around. Is it books? Look at my background. It's books stacked side by side and on some stages on top of one another. There are some pictures stacked above one another. There is a lady, just a girl who loves books, on top of a head of books. Okay? Look at my little Pinocchio calendar. I've got a painting of a field of daffodils. What is your surrounding? How would you describe it? Can I say I have mountains of books surrounding me? I have some cuddly toys here on my bed also reading. So do I have a collection of animals reading together? How would you describe the landscape around you at the present time? So again, write a brief descriptive paragraph about the landscape around you just now. Now, I found this fun piece actually. Alex is staying with his Uncle Derm on Achill Island for the summer. And his Uncle Derm he's a bit of a character. If you've read the book, you will certainly know what a character he is. And he does a lot of fun things. Some things we do not do what Derm does, other times it's a bit of fun. Now, this is simply a fun exercise that you're not allowed to do in reality, okay? But think about it. This is on page 35, anyone who wants to check it out. Derm grabbed the mallet from under my feet. Just a second. He jumped out and with one mighty blow made the sign point in the wrong direction. Have you ever been out with your parents or other for a drive and you followed the signposts? One of the signposts was pointing in the wrong direction. It actually happened to me on holiday when I was walking a few years ago with my brother and my sister, and the signs were wrong and we got lost in the mountains on Tenerife. And a lot of language was used. Maybe not language I can say here, but we were a bit cross when we discovered that we were completely and utterly lost because of a signpost. So I want you to draw the signpost that you would like to change. What signpost would you like to point in the wrong direction? Draw it and then change direction. So let's say, could we take the sign for Malin Head just outside Malin and point it towards Buncrana? Or could we take the sign for our school and point it towards a neighbouring town or village? So draw the sign that you would like to change and then actually draw maybe to the right hand side where it's now pointing to, not the place it's supposed to be. A wee bit of creative fun. Now this is actually the main piece that I want to do. It's all fun little pieces, but I want you to take this and make this one of your main pieces of writing. It's on page 60. Is that a factory? A factory, muttered Derm, shaking his head. It's the pirate castle. A pirate castle? How old is it? Old. 15-something. I clearly wasn't dealing with an expert here. Who lived there? The pirate queen of Achill. So now, I want you to draw your pirate castle and write a poem or a story about your pirate castle. How did your pirate castle come to be? Who built your pirate castle? And where is your pirate castle situated? Now, a poem, a lot of people get confused. This is not a poetry class, but if it were, I would be telling you that poetry doesn't have to rhyme. You can make this a rhyming piece. Maybe do it in sets of rhyming couplets, 2 lines that rhyme. Maybe do 2 or 3 rhyming couplets. That's 4 or 6 lines. It's up to you. Or just write it as a list. Make it a list poem. So write a list of the describing the castle. Maybe write a short paragraph about the castle and then turn it into like a little poem. Or write down some random words about a pirate castle, then put them together to form a poem. And it may just simply be random words throughout, but it's your poem. A poem can be any set form of writing. There doesn't have to be a fancy iambic pentameter, rhyming couplets, A-B rhyming scheme, ABC rhyming scheme. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be an open verse, a free piece of poetry, or it can be a haiku. If you fancy trying a haiku about your pirate castle, a haiku, if anyone knows, is a Japanese form of poetry where it's all based on the sound. So it's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, if you want to try that. But I think go with the story, okay? Go with the short story, describing your pirate castle and telling us where it's come from, who lives there, who is the pirate queen. Can we have a pirate queen here? If you want a pirate king, but I think a pirate queen would be a bit more fun. So let's try a pirate queen who lives in our castle. Who is the pirate queen? Where does she come from? And how has she ended up in this castle? And where does this castle come from? How did it come to be? And where is it situated? I think this would make a really good story, and it's one that you could maybe add on chapters to. So make a start on it. So start off with your pirate castle and your pirate queen. And enjoy writing it. The whole idea is to enjoy this. Now, on chapter 10, it's titled Purple Haze. It's simply the first sentence of chapter 10. My favourite time of day isn't when I'm awake or asleep, but the short in-between bit. I want you to write a 6-word story about your favourite time of day. What is your favourite time of day and why? 6 words, not 5 words, not 10 words. 6 words. Thinking off the top of my head, my 6-word story about time of day would be lunchtime, eat lots, then relax. I only wish that were true, that I could relax after lunchtime. But think about it. Your favourite time of day and why in 6 words. So again, 6-word story, very important writing concept. Try yours. And when you've done one, do another. Do a second favourite time of day. Do a third. What about night time, lights off, just me? Work done, after 8, I read. That's my favourite. That is my favourite. What's yours? Now on page 133, at the bottom of the page we have, I put my head round his door. My uncle was lying in bed with towers of books piled around him. Now, I want you to think of the books you have read, or if you're not a reader, look around your classroom now and look at the collection or the selection of books that are there. I want you to write a list of the books that you have in your tower of books. Now, preferably this will be a tower of books that you have read, that you've covered, a tower of books that you know. So write down a tower of books and again, write them underneath each other. Make this a list. Then maybe do a squiggly or a clouded colour around them. Build your tower of books, the tower of books that you have hopefully read. Or if you haven't, maybe a tower of books you would like to read. If I was to show you the tower of books that I have to read, I wouldn't have enough time. So what is the tower, your tower of books? Now I'm making this recording on Wednesday, the 6th of March, okay? Now it will be next week before you are doing it, so Friday the 8th of March will be over. And Friday is International Women's Day, a day when we celebrate women that we admire, women who inspire us, and just everything that it is to be a woman. Life changed very much for women in the 20th century. We've got a much more ability to work where we want to. We've got more careers have opened up to us. People listen to women. Women's place is not just in the home anymore. And Rex, or it's Kitty, sorry, Kitty in the book very much is encouraging Rex about the importance of women and what women can do. And on page 218, I think it was very fun actually, this exchange. Crummy, who is the sergeant in the book, Crummy had a smirk on his face. Women don't rob banks. Kitty says, oh, they do. They can do everything a man can do, usually better. That's a very tough statement, isn't it? A very big statement, actually. What woman do you know who's extraordinary? Now, earlier in the book, Rex describes his Uncle Derham as extraordinary, an extraordinary uncle. So Kitty here now is telling us about how women can do things maybe even better than men. Yes, go girls, go girls. So what woman do you know, or what woman do you admire, okay, who is extraordinary? Maybe draw a picture of her and then write down why you see her as being extraordinary. What has she done for you, or what has she done in life that makes her extraordinary? And sometimes it's important to actually write these things down just to remind us how important these women are and for us to recognise them and maybe even show that person. It could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be an aunt, it could be, I was going to say an uncle, it could be a grandparent, it could be a celebrity. It can be whoever you want it to be. Okay, so a woman that you admire and why. And finally, one last piece before I do some well-being. It is chapter 39, and it's simply, the title has really inspired me, and it's Staring at the Stars. Now, there's nothing more beautiful than the nighttime sky. And in fact, William Butler Yeats in The Lake Isle of Innisfree, where he is longing to return to the west of Ireland and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made and leave the drab grey streets of London. Yeats, he describes nighttime as midnight's all glimmer, and he's referring to the stars and the moon, okay, which you don't have that shining sky in London where he's at that time because of the skyscrapers, the tall buildings, okay, and probably the smog as well. So staring at the stars, I want you to describe the starry nighttime sky. You can do this and you can do it in a 6-word story. What about a short poem? It'd be lovely as a poem actually, or a descriptive paragraph. But whatever format you decide to use, write a description of the nighttime sky. That's how you see it. Do you see the stars as our loved ones in heaven? Do you see the stars as the lights of the sky? Or do you see the stars as something magical? The stars can be whatever you want them to be. So describe now how you see the nighttime sky in whatever format you want. I think a little poem would be lovely, and I look forward to seeing those actually. So guys, off you go and do those lots of little pieces, and there's something different in every area there. And draw, anyone who does want to, just draw your pieces, okay? And I hope you've enjoyed doing this, and there'll be a short well-being in words piece to follow now, okay? Thank you so much. Now we're going to do just a few short well-being writing and drawing, I suppose, both the same as before, written and drawn exercises from Read DL 2024 book, The Summer I Robbed a Bank. When I talk about well-being, I simply mean how we feel, okay? Trying to turn our downturn feelings into feeling good. We all experience challenges and difficult situations in life. We've got to be able to deal with those and overcome them and bring our mood round to being one of feeling content, feeling confident, and just feeling good, feeling happy. And there's a lot of well-being ideas in this. Rex, one of the most notable things about Rex in this is, I think, is the language, the words that his mother and his Uncle Derm used to describe him. His mother is very overprotective. Maybe it's again because of the situation that herself and her husband have parted ways. Maybe it's just the type of mother she is, but she's very overprotective, Rex, and she calls him Rexy Poos. Now, Rex is a growing boy, and it's a very childish name that she has for him. But Derm sees Rex very different. Derm helps Rex to come out of his shell, Derm and Kitty both. But Derm refers to Rex as T-Rex, a much stronger, powerful young boy than his mum's language, Rexy Poos. So that alone, I think, is a very big part of this book. So think about that. Think about a childish name that maybe somebody's called you, or somebody has called you, or maybe even still does call you. Write it down. Now, beside that, write what you would like them to call you. Is it just your everyday name, or would you like to extend it like T-Rex? So, write down a name that someone called you, maybe a childish name that perhaps you don't like. Maybe you don't mind it. But beside that, write what you would like to be called, maybe what you'd like to be known as. And now, on page 20, quite early on, Rex's mum says to him, "You need to come out of your shell, Rexy Poos." Rex is quite quiet. He's quite an anxious boy at the beginning. He's frightened. He's, as I would call myself, almost a scaredy cat. Not anymore, I'm not, but I would have been very much a very shy, anxious little girl. And that's one of the reasons I do the creative writing, is to encourage positivity, to encourage confidence through writing. Through the art of writing, we can build our confidence. I know I certainly did. So again, I've come out of my shell, but I was much older when I came out of my shell. And I don't want young people being stuck in their shell. So come out of it. What is it that you need to overcome? Do you need to be able to speak in class? Do you need to be able to make new friends? Do you need to be able to try new things? Just write down one thing that you think you need to overcome to just push yourself. Okay, rather than staying inside a wee comfort box, what do we need to push ourselves outside that box for? Just write it down. Putting it down on paper is bringing it out from inside us as well. So write it down. What do you think you need to push yourself to do to overcome something? Now, on page nervous. On page 40, Rex says, "I got nervous in new situations." Can you think of a situation that you were in and you got nervous? Was it maybe your first day in school? Your first day in secondary school? Maybe you've moved here from a different country. Maybe you've moved to a new school during primary or secondary school. Just write down, write about a time that you got nervous. And this is not for anybody else to read. This is just for you to read. Just because when you write it down, you're taking it out from inside you. Okay? So write. Maybe it's still there. Maybe you still remember that situation. Just write down a time when you got nervous. It might even be when you met someone. Did somebody make you feel nervous? Again, this is very much the same. I spoke to you earlier about the shock explosions that Rex would have had, the panic attacks, the anxiety attacks. And one thing that Rex says here is, the thing about most shock explosions is that they're over in a second. It goes, ordinary life, shock explosion, back to ordinary life. It's while we're in that moment of the shock explosion, that panic attack, we think our world's going to end, but it passes. Think about a time when you had a shock explosion and think about when it passed. How did you feel when it passed? I've had shock explosions. I have struggled with panic attacks at a certain time in my life. I remember them well. I know what it's like to have a shock explosion. And I know what a relief it is when the shock explosion has passed. Just write down a few words about how you felt when the shock explosion had passed. Your panic attack was over, and that's just to remind yourself on the page that it does pass. It does be over. It won't do us any harm. Now, Rex admires Kitty. Kitty's very confident. It says here, page 83, but something about Kitty made me want to follow her. She had a confidence, a strut. She seemed to know what she was doing. Also, I had too many questions I wanted to ask. So when she gestured for me to come too, I stepped into the field and closed the gate behind me. I want you now to write down somebody that you know who has confidence. Somebody that's really confident, that you would like to be as confident as. You don't want to be like them. We don't want to be like somebody else. We want to be ourselves. But write down somebody that you know who's very confident. And write down why you would like to be confident. Now, this is a very important part here, and you're just going to write down a name. On page 85, Rex says, my dad says, sorry, no, it's actually Kitty talking here, my mistake, apologies. Kitty says, my dad says you should talk to Duncan if you're ever down in the dumps. He always cheers you up. So, who do you have that you can talk to if you're feeling down or you're feeling sad? Just write down that name on your page. Who can you go and talk to? And remember as well, if you feel you don't have anyone you can talk to your diary. I'm very much passionate about people keeping a diary, because your diary becomes your friend. And if you feel you can't talk to someone when you're feeling down, talk to your diary. Just write in your diary how you're feeling. And again, you're getting that feeling out from inside you, and you immediately feel better because you've told your diary. So who can you tell? Who can you talk to when you need to? Now, one more little piece here on well-being. And again, it's much the same. This is all quite repetitive because it's the same idea. I think it's all about Rex coming out of his comfort zone and admitting that he needs to come out of his comfort zone. At the end of chapter 13, Rex says, I was tired too, but lying halfway up a mountain in a rickety tent with somebody I had only met properly that morning, I realised that Derm had been right about one thing. I did enjoy being out of my comfort zone. So think about a time when you did something that you wouldn't normally do that brought you out of your comfort zone. Now, I can honestly say that maybe the first time that I was really out of my comfort zone was when I went into a school and started talking to children. I was really out of my comfort zone. Now it's second nature to me. I love going into a school and talking to children, talking about the importance of books, about the importance of writing, about the importance of keeping a diary, about the importance of talking. And if you don't want to talk, then write, because write is another form of communication. So think about a time when you were out of your comfort zone and felt good about it. Maybe it was going to the youth club for the first time. Maybe it was playing football for the first time. Maybe it was going into that new school for the first time. Just write down about a time when you enjoyed being out of your comfort zone. And if you can have that written down, you have now acknowledged that you went out of your comfort zone and you were content. And that's going to build your confidence to do it again and again and again. Now, this piece I'm not going to get you to write. I just want you to listen. I think this is really important. If you have read the book, you'll know that Uncle Derm is sick. And again, you should most likely will have read the book if you're doing this. And Uncle Derm does die in the end. So I don't think I'm spoiling anything by telling you that. But when Rex finds out that Derm is dying, he has a conversation with him. And I think the advice Derm gives is really important. It's important for us all. And it's not just about when somebody we love dies, it's about when someone we love maybe is sick, maybe it's only temporary sickness. But it's important again for us to turn our feelings around and to make the most of what we have and what our situation is. And you still could have a tried to interrupt, but Derm wasn't finished. T-Rex, at the same time that we're dying, do you know what else we're all doing? I was about to say fishing, but Derm answered his own question. Living. And that's what I've tried to put all my energy into, to squeeze every drop out of each day, to surround myself with the best things. He pointed at the scenery around us and the best people. He pointed at me and tried to have the best life. I think that is really important advice for all of us, to try and have the best life. The best life for me might be different to the best life for you, but it's important to acknowledge and to accept that we must live the best life that we can, regardless of the difficulty or the challenges that we face. Remember, as Rex or as Derm says, living. And that's what I've tried to put all my energy into. So let us now, from the summer I robbed the bank, put all our energy into living and living the best life that we can in the best possible way we can. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed the summer I robbed a bank. I have absolutely loved it, and thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me talk about it, and hopefully you have written some pieces, and I hope you agree it's a real feel-good book with some really good feel-good advice. Thank you so much.